Dear students, very warm welcome to online lectures of classical poetry by Professor Dr. Zia Ahmed. And as you had attended my last lecture where I tried to define the style, the qualities of poetry by John Donne, and one of the important characteristics of John Donne was that he's a metaphysical poet. And let me remind you that metaphysical means a comparison between an abstract image and a concrete image. But that is really very complex. We need to discover that. So keeping this thing in mind, today, dear students, we shall be reading one poem by John Donne. And this poem has been titled by him, The Sun Rising. The Sun Rising, that is Tulu Hota Hua Suraj. This is the type of poem that we shall be studying today, The Sun Rising. The title of the poem is going to be The Sun Rising. Okay. First, I shall be reading the whole poem before you so that you may have an idea what is inside this poem. It starts, busy, old, fool, unruly sun, why dost thou thus through windows and through curtains call on us? Must to thy motions lovers' seasons run, saucy, pedantic wretch, go chide, late school boys and sore prentices. Go tell court huntsmen that the king will ride, call country ants to harvest offices. Love all alike, no season knows nor clime, nor hours, days, months, which are the rags of time. Thy beams so reverent and strong, why shouldest thou think I could eclipse and cloud them with a wink, but that I would not lose her sight so long, if her eyes have not blinded thine? Look and tomorrow's late tell to me, whether both the Indias of spice and mine be where thou leftest them or lie here with me. Ask for those kings whom thou sighest yesterday. And thou shalt hear all here in one medley. She's all the states and all princes I, nothing else is. So that is the poem which will be ending. Last lines are here. Princes do but play us compared to this. All honors mimic, all wealth alchemy. Thou sun art half as happy as we in that the words contracted thus. Thine age us ease, and since thy duties be to warm the world, that's done in warming us. Shine here to us, and thou art everywhere. This bed thy center is, these walls thy sphere. This is the whole poem, students. It's not that long, has got only 14 to 15 lines, but the concepts which are here, they are a little bit complex. So I shall be explaining the poem for you sentence-wise. For example, if we talk about the first sentence, it says, why dost thou thus through windows and through curtains call on us? This is the morning scene. As you know what happens, that when the morning time is there, the sunlight comes and begins to enter into the windows, into the doors, wherever it finds the way. So John Donne supposes that he is lying with his beloved, and his beloved and he are taking rest in the bed, and ultimately what happens, the time of morning, the sun rises. And the light of the sun enters into the room of the lovers. And John Donne says, the poet says, the lover says, to the sun, they address to the sun, okay, why are you trying to disturb our sleep? What is the reason? Why you are sending or entering your light into our bedroom? And as a result, the poet or the lover becomes angry, and he gives the name to sun, busy, old, fool, unruly sun. Two adjectives the poet uses. Busy, old, fool, that means the sun is not a kind of young person. It's a kind of old person, and it's very busy all the time in its activity. And then unruly, uncontrollable sun. So in this way, he says that sun is something which is not only old, but also is a fool, but also is something which is uncontrollable. That is why the sun did not take care of the sleep of the lovers and disturb them by throwing its light into the room of the lovers. Through windows and through curtains, John Donne says that the light of the sun is entering. So sun is personified here as something old and fool, but still the power of the sun is there, that it is unruly. So the first stanza is there to show as if the power of the sun is more than the power of love. This is what the poem starts with. But what happens with that? John Donne, as a lover, puts the second question in the second line. Must to thy motions lover season run? He puts a question that, son, do you want that the lovers should spend their life according to you? Your change from morning to evening, from those days into the weeks, and then weeks into the months, and months into the year. Do you want that according to your motions, the sun's motion, the lover's seasons should run, or the lover's life should run? He says it's not possible. And instead, he gives a bad name to the sun by saying, saucy, pedantic wretch. This is the name he again gives to the sun, that you are a very saucy person, very pungent person, very much sharp person, and you want to pose your authority on us. He says, but you are a wretch. You are a person who's got no good lucks at all. So that is why he says, go away from here. Are you remembering your own getting up style early in the morning? That when alarm rings or when the sun rises, very difficult to rise up. I feel the same situation is there in the poem. But lovers are here. It's not simply one man, it's the lovers. The lover is present with the beloved. His word has become so strong, so powerful, that John Donne, as a lover, wants that the sun should not come to their bedroom at all. It's not his duty. They cannot run their life, lovers cannot run their life according to the motions of the sun. So that is why sun should not disturb them at all. Instead, what should the sun do? Sun has got certain duties. For example, number one, go chide late school boys and sore apprentices. He says, go. Do not come to us. Go to those school boys who are getting late from the school, and go to those trainees or the people who are getting training. Go to them and ask them, go, you're getting late. If you have done this duty, then go tell courts, huntsmen that the king will ride. You should go to the huntsmen, the hunters, who accompany the king while they are riding. The king is riding outside, huntsmen with him. He says, go then, call those people that they are getting late. And if you have done this also, then call country ants to harvest offices. Go to the ants also, that they should start their business. And he says, why he says this? Love all alike, no season knows, nor clime, nor hours, days, months, which are the rags of time. The poet, as a lover, says, love will not be bound with your motion at all, because love is not combined with anything. It does not know any season. It does not know any climate. It is above all these things. Love is not restricted with respect to the passing of times, the passing of days, the passing of months. It's not restricted at all. He says these are just the rags of time. So for a lover, time is not important. For a lover, his beloved is important. Before the presence of his beloved, the timing which the sun makes actually, sun gives us the hour, sun gives us the day, sun gives us the days, months and weeks, all these things we measure with respect to time. The poet says that the lover's word cannot be measured at all with the rags of time. He says these are useless things. His love is permanent. His love is beyond this time. So in this way, he has now told us the power of his love. The first line was about the power of sun. Now it is the power of love. That it is so strong, so powerful, that it's beyond the limits of human behavior. For example, human beings are getting late with respect to the hours and the days and the months. They count their age also. He says this is not the counting with regard to love. So that is the kind of height and the power of love which he says it is. But probably this love is genuine love he's talking about, not the love which we have in 21st century. Right? Students, let's proceed further. He says, again addresses to the sun, after establishing the power of love. He says, thy beam so reverent and strong, why shouldst thou think? Here says, the sun, why are you thinking that you are so much powerful? Why are you thinking that you are respectful? He says, I could eclipse and cloud them with a wink. He says, if I stop looking into the eyes of my beloved, just one wink, ek dafa main apni aankh band karun, then if my beloved looks into your eyes, your brightness would be totally eclipsed. So according to John Donne, sun's light can be eclipsed if the beloved looks into the sun. So that is the power of his beloved he tries to show. The power of the eyes of his beloved he tries to show. Eyes of the beloved have been always the source of so much strength for the lovers. Somebody would say the eyes are like the lake, blue eyes are like this and that. Whatever the case may be, poets talk in this sense. Now he says that, okay, if you don't want to stop, then I ask my beloved to look into your eyes. If she looks into your eyes, your light will be dimmed. This is the confidence, this is the height that the poet has got about the power of the eyes of his beloved, or about the love of his beloved. He says, but I will not do this. Why? The next line is, but that I would not lose her sight so long. If he says, I close the eye, her eye will lose her sight. I don't want to do this. If her eyes have not blinded thine, look and tell tomorrow late, tell to me. He says, I will not do so. If you are dimmed or not, because I don't want to lose the sight of my beloved. I want to constantly look into the eyes of my beloved. So that is the height of his claim of love for his beloved and the claim of the kind of power the beloved's eyes carry. He further addresses the son by saying, look and tomorrow late, tell me whether both the Indias of spice and mine be where thou leftest them or lie here with me. Now, another way of making his love understood to the people, he says, his love is spicy also. His love is beauty also. His love is having good aroma also. He asks the son, go and see in India, for example, you can see some of the spices in mine. In Elizabethan age, India was the place from where the spices were going, masala vagara. He says the spices which are in India, you can see daily that they are there. He said, then come back and see in my bed. Are not those all beauties, smells and spices available in my bedroom also? If they are there, it means the world is converged. India's world is converged into his bedroom. And then he goes to the second point by saying, okay, then leave this. Go and find out about the kings of the world. You, during your journey, during the day, the sun, he says, you will be witnessing many kings here and there. You will see there are powerful kings also, less powerful kings also. He says, but when you come to my bed, you will see that all these kings and princes in their power is found in his bedroom. So in this way, whole the world he combines and reduces to his bedroom by saying that she is all states and all princes I, nothing else is. He says, it is me the prince and my beloved the state. All important kings and the princes of the world are not important before this kind of situation. So he says the whole world is converged into his bedroom when he is the prince and beloved is going to be the state. He says all these worldly princes actually mimic him. For example, he says, princes do but play us. Compared to this, all honors mimic, all wealth alchemy. He says the princes mimic us, copy us, imitate us. That is why we are more superior to as compared to those kind of worldly princes. So this is the height of the importance which he gives to his love. Again, he continues in the same tone. Thou son art half as happy as we in that the words connected thus. Thine age asks ease, and since thy duties be to warm the word that's done in warming us. He says, I'm going to create a very good facility for you, son. Do not go to the whole world. Just stay here in our room because you have become old, because you need comfort, because you need rest, and this rest you can have. As your job is to warm the word, our room is the full word. You can warm this and feel okay with that. Your duty is done. He says, this bed is the center, these walls thy sphere. In this way, he makes a word by telling that the bed is the center and walls are the whole sphere. The sun should revolve around it only. And in this way, what will happen? All the duty of the sun will be done. So student, this is the poem that is over. But you see what we have learned here. Two lovers are there who are in their bedroom. And they are sleeping. Early in the morning, sun rises and tries to wake them up. And the poet, the lover, becomes angry. He says that we cannot get up as the sun wants. So he wants to say actually that love is so strong a passion that for this no need of the whole universe is there. Then he keeps on teaching the son, you can go this and there, and school boys and country apprentices and all the other places he says go, but do not try to wake us up. We cannot run. And then he suggests to the son, okay, this is the whole world in which we are. My beloved is the princess and I am the king. I am the princess. So you can do your duty by just visiting us. So that is the height of all that. So dear students, all the poem is finished. We shall be able to talk more about this poem in the next lecture along with the next poem as well. So thank you for listening to this lecture. Hope to see you in some lecture. Thank you.